Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. I'm super excited to have a special guest with us today, Jenna Zadaka. She is a very special Kabbalah teacher, an embodiment practitioner, a trauma-informed somatic coach. Um, she's also an author and a ceremonialist. She's very passionate about guiding others to trust their divine bodies as a source of inner directed healing. And through her integration of somatics, spirituality, and creative visualization, Jenna is able to guide people to reconnect to their home of wholeness. And you can find her on her new website, authenticroots.com, AWETHENTICROOTS, authenticroots.com. And you can also find her on Instagram, breath and soul _ Jenna.
You. The way you read that is so gentle and beautiful. So it's nice to hear it through your voice.
Thank you.
Having me.
Well, I'm really excited to have you here. I feel like I've been following your work for a while and really enjoying seeing your way of finding how to make Kabbalah very practical and embodied and also very feminine, which is something that I aim for as well. Um, and before we get started and really go deep on our conversation today, I wanted to just share with our listeners some of the offerings that you have so that they're familiar with some of the things that you have coming up, that if they're interested in joining, you can tell them about it.
Sure, thanks. So what I'm really excited about is my upcoming course, The Radiant Body, Embodied Kabbalah. And I've taught this for many years, but this year feels different. I've definitely refined it over the year, and my purpose has shifted. Before it was very much a course to learn about the Sphirot, and this time around, the focus is much more about embodiment universally through the paradigm of the Sphirot and how we can find wholeness through the tree of life in a very, like you said, feminine embodied way. And we're moving through the weeks of the Omer, so we'll be just in tune with Jewish time and really being able to integrate the Sefirot in our body, in our life to find balance and wholeness. So that is an upcoming course. I also have a group coaching called Circle of Embodied Wholeness. And when I say coaching, it's really more of a intimate container for the magic of the collective to really come together, heal, transform, be witnessed, have accountability, and move together to find embodied wholeness through visualization and Kabbalah and embodiment practice and having um, the circle paradigm where it's not that I'm the giver and everyone's the receiver, but that I'm holding an intimate container so that everyone can give and receive in the name of circle consciousness, which is what I believe is the future paradigm of healing. So I'm really
Absolutely. I love that. Well, it's something I enjoy hearing that so much because I teach my group Kabbalah, obviously, and we talk a lot about how, the shift during the times of Mashiach, which is what I believe we're in right now, is a shift from the world of the lines, which is hierarchy, to the world of the circle, which is equality. And so it's also a representative in masculine and feminine. The masculine represents hierarchy, the feminine represents the circle. And it's also biological, you see that as well. So I really love hearing that. And it sounds like you're creating a community or a tribe for a place for people to really explore all these teachings in a more interconnected way with other people, which I think is so powerful. I think so many times people do the inner work on themselves on their own and becomes like very self-obsessed And I think it's so important to do it in a way where you get to interact with others because you could learn so much from other people, but also get new perspectives, right? So I'm definitely interested in signing up for that one.
Yeah, and I agree with you that um, healing can be very isolating and lonely, especially right now. And we have a loneliness epidemic.
Hmm.
And there's so much healing people are doing on their own. And this prophecy you're speaking about with the days to come, the redemptive era, it says like that Sadiqim will be in a circle and dance in a circle and point to the center and say, oh, this is the God that we've been waiting for. It's not an up-down paradigm, but they're all pointing to the center.
Hmm.
And I have noticed in my local community, people are more reluctant to go into spiritual spaces where there's just a leader and they're a receiver,
Hmm.
or they're coming into a traditional shul, which I am definitely a shul goer, and a lot of people still love that. But many seekers, spiritual seekers, are yearning for a place where they also feel empowered to bring their full selves.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's the egalitarian
Yeah.
circle consciousness where everyone is their own source of wisdom because God is in the center. We all have equal access. We don't need to look for someone else to connect us.
Exactly. I was thinking about this recently. Because we were learning the Parsha this week, and I was realizing how, over many centuries, people who had access to Torah and Kabbalah and just had access to Judaism in general were either like super wealthy or very learned and had access to it. And the fact that in our generation, if you want to learn Torah, if you want to learn Kabbalah, it's so easy, it's so accessible. Well, you don't even need a teacher. Like literally just go online or buy the book and you can just directly engage with the text and learn it all on your own. And I think that sometimes we take that for granted in our generation, like that we just have access to all this information. But I think that that's part of the manifestation of that prophecy is that look back like over 100 years ago, women weren't able to have access to this wisdom, and the fact that we can do it now, I think is really indicating of the special times that we live in. Um, Also, I really love what you're saying about this whole circle consciousness. It's something that I deeply resonate with. And recently, I've been super inspired to start a women's song circle because I feel like song and music can be a spiritual practice in a very embodied way. And it's not a concert. It's not like me singing and everyone's like listening. It's more like creating the space for everyone to come together, women, daughters, children, to come together and really express their connection to God through sound, through music. And I think that one of the ways that I approach my relationship with Hashem is very much like from a place of joy and inwardness, like to find my own unique way of connecting rather than looking for the outside to tell me this is how you serve Hashem. I think it's really important for each of us to find our own unique path that resonates for us to know this is what speaks to me and this is what is calling on me as a way to build that connection to Hashem. And I think that the work that you do is very much aligned with that.
Yeah, and what you were saying about we have all the information there. Anyone can open Kabbalah books, anyone could YouTube and find podcasts, and we have the knowledge and inspiration. And I think this next generation is looking for more embodied experience and a direct channel to the essence, because we are saturated with information, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we're becoming enlightened. So this bringing it actually into more simple practice, like a song circle, can access the light in a much more sustainable way than learning and learning and learning and learning. And I'm definitely a nerd when it comes to learning, and
Me
that's,
too.
I'm always poring over books, and I have realized in the last few years that sometimes it is a escape to learn instead of actually taking a little bit and stepping away and seeing what lands, what stays, what feels like maybe there's a edge or a trigger, and working with that in the heart, in the body. That's where the next movement towards transformation happens. So this
Yeah.
sound circle, yes, and finding your own practice in it is so key.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as you're talking, I don't know if you know this, but I'm very obsessed with the concept of the rise of the feminine. And I'm actually writing a book on that right now, from the perspective of Judaism and Kabbalah. And and as you're talking, I hear it because the masculine has always been in the intellectual, right? The accumulation of information. And the feminine is more connected to like the heart center. And the heart center, like you said, it's not just about feelings. It's also about intuition. It's about listening to your soul, about inner guidance. And I think that it's both. I think that when we're rising more towards the feminine, yes, it is about the embodiment, which I agree 100%, but it's also about the consciousness, right? Like you have to know what you're doing in order to embody it. Like you have to connect to the concept before you can. So I think it's both. It's about interconnecting the mind and the heart together. And also it's so fascinating because I feel like um I don't know where you live in Colorado, which is a very progressive spiritual place. But where I am, for example, in South Florida, it's not really known to be like, that type of a place. But in the last few years, I mean, I just moved here 4 years ago. We used to live in California. It's been so incredible to see the shift, that there's so many gatherings for people to come together and do breath work, meditation, sound healing, somatic healing, plant medicine. It's become so pervasive. And I feel like people are so obsessed with self-healing and trauma heal. Like all this stuff is it used to be that's been there for a while, but the fact that common people, like everyone's like interested in it right now, I think is also again an indication of the unique energy that we're all tapping into because I don't think that Mashiach is just about the person that is Mashiach or the time of Mashiach. One of my teachers, Rabbi Jacobson taught me that, you know, we're already in it. We're already feeling it. It's a process. Mashiach is a process. And we're already feeling that process coming in. The lights are already coming in now. And so I love that the work that you're doing is about connecting the mind and the heart, is about the embodiment, because I think that that's exactly like on target with what we're supposed to be doing is really it's about Shekhinah experiences. Like how do we bring the Shekhinah in a tangible way into our world? Um, I'm curious when you do that with the Sefirot, which I've been learning for a long time now, but I'm curious, like, can you give us an example? Like, for example, um, Tiferet, right? Tiferet is the Sephirah that is connected to the heart center. And it's really the synthesis of Chesed, which is extending and kindness and giving, and then on the other end, on the left side you have Gevura, which is more like restriction, and then you have Tiferet as sort of like the synthesis between the Chesed and Gevura coming together. So in your embodiment courses, how do you translate that into a practice in a tangible way to be able to tap into Tiferet energy?
Beautiful question. There's many ways, and one that's just coming to me as I'm listening to you right now is in my last Rosh Chodesh gather for Shvat, which was well, we actually did it right before Tu B'Shvat. We looked at the tree of life, which is what Tu B'Shvat celebrates as the Orin Sof dripping into the world, the new sap of nectar of life coming into the world. And in terms of the tree of life and a physical tree, Tiferet is really the trunk, the core of the tree. And yes, Tiferet is the heart, but it also extends through the whole torso. So one of the practices we did in both connecting first to our roots, the roots below and the roots above. So the tree of life is upside down tree where the roots actually come from our source above. And once we connected to the roots, those are places of nourishment, of belonging, of safety, of interconnectedness, of the unity that's below the surface, and really drew the sap from the roots because we can't give our fruits without first nourishing through the roots. And we invited that sap from below and above into the trunk, which is Tiferet, the core, the body. Um, and as you said, Tiferet is a harmony of Chesed and Gevurah. And what is a healthy trunk in a tree? Uh, it's rooted and grounded and anchored, and also is supple and can exchange energy and has a flowing sap that can both be released and renewed. So we explored that in our trunk. What does it feel like to have a receptive, soft, porous front body, which is receiving the world with sensitivity, not cutting ourselves off from pain or from others, but really like a breeze on your skin, because Teferi, it's also connected to the air. Like, can you be so soft and supple that you can feel the breeze of entering your front body? And at the same time, can we establish a back body that is our support system? Like imagining that you are sitting in a really supportive chair holding you up. And this back body is so important that you don't collapse from helping others, from listening to others, from being with others, especially if you're in a healing or a practitioner um, day where you're giving to clients or if you're a mother tending to a family, that strong, sturdy back body is so important, like the wings of the back. And we have the angel Raphael always holding our back, like we're not alone back there. And can we keep that front body open? And if we can have that dual awareness, then the inner column of the body is fluid and alive. And the sap is running up and down, or you can imagine it as like a channel of light from the center of the tree of life. That is where the energy flows. That's the column of life. So we practice that in our bodies for like 30 minutes. What does it feel like? And then we embodied our matriarchal tree of life. Like, what does it mean to stand as a trunk in your full self? And when you're giving, and you're extending your branches and offering shade, you're not losing anything of yourself. You know, if someone comes to sit under your shade and receive all the benefits of your tree, you are so rooted. You have the Tiferet trunk that you are just embodying your full matriarchal tree of life. Um, and that's just one way that I experience Tiferet, but some people are very visually oriented and they can find healing through color. You know, there's different colors that you can breathe into your heart and balance through the heart. There's breath work to help you balance. Like the exhale is chesed, inhale is gevura, and can you circle that breath and find a healthy tiferet where you're giving and receiving and exhaling and inhaling equally. Um, and I do that with the palms, like exhaling out the right hand of chesed giving, extending your gifts, and then inhaling through the left palm with the palm down. And as you do that over time, you're actually clearing and renewing the heart in like a circular breath. So there's many openings, and everyone, the more you explore, you can find that practice that is yummy for you.
Yeah. Wow,
Mhm.
that sounds gorgeous. I love that explanation. It sounds really, really beautiful. When you teach the Sefirot, do you assign a color for each Sephira?
Um, well, so different Kabbalists have
Yeah.
found their experience of different colors. Like some for yellow have some Kabbalists say it's like an etrog yellow, or some say it's like a green or a purple.
For a
But
Tiferet.
for Tiferet, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I have found, and anyone who's done like any sort of heart work or medicine work and is into colors, everyone has a different heart color. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not a science. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
every time I go into my heart, there's like an etrog yellow, but it's part of the healing process because the color is not it's not physical. It's a representation of an energy, and energy
Yeah.
changes and moves. And I've found in my heart an exploding like turquoise when I was going through a really deep healing. And other times it has been like a green color, and
Yeah.
you can't take it literally.
I've had the experience of Tiferet on a number of meditation experiences where for me it was very much green, like consistently green. But I love that. I find that really fascinating because I find also that I gravitate towards certain colors in general in my life and how colors are very much connected to specific energies. And we also wear certain colors, and there's a whole, the whole idea of wearing white on Shabbat. Colors are symbolic, but they're also connecting to something specific.
Mhm.
So I love that. And are you familiar with the teaching that everyone has their own tree of life? Like I have a friend of mine who I interviewed on the podcast. Her name is Anna Cohen. She's an energy healer. And when she works with people, she's actually able to see their individual tree of life in different colors. So she'll say, and she identifies each, and she'll say, your tree is a little it's a little to the side. It's not centered, or like when it's not aligned, like she can actually visually see that as in a tree format, which I think is just so incredible, you know?
Yeah, I definitely believe that, and people have those gifts and it can be really helpful for people. I also love that Rav Dov Pinson teaches if you're aware of colors and you see a color like, oh, there's a green plant, you can go deeper and ask yourself, well, why is Hashem showing me green? What can I receive from this green plant?
Hmm.
And all the colors externally are actually spiritual messages, um, like angels that we can integrate.
Yeah, that
Do
makes sense.
I do know that generally the higher spherot are lighter and clear, and as you go down, they get denser and darker.
Hmm.
But everyone's is so unique and evolving. So
Yeah.
I being interested, being curious, exploring, and not asking, oh, is this right or wrong that I'm seeing this color, but just, Yesod for me feels very orange and bright, and it's a little intimidating for me. What is that showing me and teaching me? It's
Hmm.
like the Sphirot are here to expand our awareness. So
Hmm.
not to limit us, but to expand us.
For sure.
Yeah.
Um, So on your website, and I feel just like in general in the way that you teach, you're very much expressing the feminine aspects of Torah and Kabbalah. And we talked about it a little bit earlier, but how do you see the rise of the feminine being manifested today in our times? And what is it that one can do to tap into more of like the rise of the feminine right now.
Yeah. That's beautiful. So much as we're in the Tree of Life conversation, I think a lot of the masculine Kabbalah has come from Keter down to Malchut and a top-down process of like first connecting up here and spiritual revelation and learning and then dripping it down and down and moving it. And that's how it's been taught. But we know Kabbalah has Or Yashar, which is a direct flowing downward light, and Or Choser, a light that's reflected, returning from the earth to the sky, from flesh to spirit, from Malchut to Keter. And so I believe that the feminine rising is really starting from below. And that means there's a lot more listening, a lot more quietude and stillness, and the revelations happening from the wisdom of the earth, which the Shekhinah is animating the earth. It says in the Zohar, the altar of the earth is the Shekhinah. And through our bodies, that there's so many insight and messages just through listening to our body that then flows in the heart, opens, and we're offering that right up through Keter and beyond. And now that we're in Adar, this is Rosh Chodesh, so I just want to mention like Queen Esther and Megillat Esther, meaning like revealing the hidden. There's the hiddenness in Keter, which we've done great at revealing all the spiritual Kabbalistic secrets, but each body is a whole world in and of itself. And we're missing so much by not listening to it. And I think my greatest transformations have come not through learning, but more through slowing, stillness, and the receptive quality of the feminine.
Mhm. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. So, share with me what's your journey been like? You just shared that you've had a lot of transformations in your life that came through the body versus through the intellect. But how did you start your spiritual journey? How did you get to the point of where you are right now? Like what got you started?
Yeah, so I grew up pretty secular. My parents are South African. We were kind of like reform in the home, and my parents are not necessarily spiritual people. Well, now they are as they're older, and now they've been exposed more to Judaism, and they've definitely been more curious. But when I grew up, there was nothing about God or anything beyond the physical. And so naturally, I had everything I needed physically. I had abundance, I had friends, I was like varsity soccer and lacrosse, and we had tons of trips and tons of just like great physical life. And I was just not satisfied because what is all this for? And I, instead of going to college, after getting into like 15 universities, and my parents were like, we'll pay for anywhere you want to go. And I was just like, what's the purpose of any of this? And I took a year off and I was just looking for a connection to God. And I traveled and I became a yoga teacher and I was looking into Buddhism and meditation retreats and ashrams and just all sorts of things, but nothing, it all felt so surface level. Um, and something just didn't feel, it felt superficial. Nothing felt like it really wrung my soul until I went into a Chabad house and the rabbi was teaching a Kabbalistic meditation class. Um, and I don't even think it was anything he said. It was more being in the presence of Emet, of truth. And I just knew right away, intuitively, that like this is it. This is the nourishment of my soul that I've never touched before. And I was so captivated by his Emmet and his wife and the children and the whole atmosphere that felt like so spiritually purified, just like walking into the space It's like I've been in temples and yoga studios, but like his home felt like I just was embraced with, or makif, now that I know that term, like a surrounding, encompassing light. And I started studying with him Kabbalah. Well, it was really Chabad Hasidus, but he just, marketed it as Kabbalistic meditations. And then
Where was this in America?
this was at Madison with Rabbi Matisaf,
Okay.
in in University of Madison.
Hmm.
And then I moved to Israel to study more at Mayanot, the Chabad
Yeah.
seminary and Sfat, Machonalta. And I became very, very Chabad. And my husband also, we met when we were 16 before we were religious. We had like dread, like we were just very in tune. And both of us started learning Chabad and we became like full on Baal Tshuva, like fire,
Wow.
um, really quickly. And I wouldn't have done it any other way because when you feel Emet, I felt like I have to dive into it.
Yeah. But
It
it's
felt
so
so
unique. It's so
natural.
unique that you were able to go on that journey together with your husband.
Yeah, and our Chabad rabbis helped us navigate dating and like, he would visit me and stay at the Chabad house and we'd like do things together. And then the Chabad rabbis got close. He was at University of Minnesota and they really helped us like move into like being Bal Tshuva and then getting married in Israel. We were fully Chabad and then you're you're as a Baal Tshuva, there comes a time when you have to actually integrate the parts of you that you left behind.
Hmm.
I had left behind my yoga, I had left behind my body, my a lot of parts of my passion and personality that, I just flew away from it because I found such light. And after a few years, we're like, oh, we need to bring some of our self back into this. And that was a whole journey.
That's beautiful. So when you got married, did you start your new life in Israel or did you come back to the States?
Yeah, we lived in Israel for about a year and a half. And then when I got pregnant, we moved back to the States and we lived in Crown Heights. And I had my baby there, Elon.
Hmm.
And from there, we loved Crown Heights. That's when I started learning more Jewish meditation in a group of women, not with like a rabbi teaching us, but we would all come together and just explore Jewish meditation, like authentically.
Was there a teacher or was it more like a collective experience?
It's five of us, and some of them were more learned that had grown up Chabad and like had and brought that. And I had been teaching yoga for many years and brought in some like meditation techniques, but learning the Jewish approach. And we just as a collective kind of built this really magical space.
Wow.
That's my favorite part of living in Crown Heights. We moved back to Israel for a few years, and then finally we've settled in Boulder, Colorado. And there's
Wow.
many journeys through.
Who were some of your teachers along the way? Both male and female teachers as far as Kabbalah and Chassidut that really had the greatest impact on you.
Yeah, so Rachi and Dovber Pinson
Yeah.
were like just the core teachers that brought me into the Hebrew calendar. And what would I even do without the anchor of Rosh Chodesh? I can't even imagine what the last like 10 years of my life would have looked like. So thanks to them, the Hebrew calendar is how I live.
Mm.
Through her teachings and his books, like they're together.
Yeah.
So in the same
I'm a big fan of Rabbi Pinson. I have the full set for the 12
set.
months. My husband gave me that as a birthday gift because I also connect to Rosh Chodesh. I started out teaching Kabbalistic astrology. That was my sort of entryway into Kabbalah and teaching and then started unpacking and I'm always blown away by every month there's so much.
Mhm.
There's so much to uncover. And you're right. Like once you understand the depth of it and the energy and the opportunities there to really tap into something unique every single month, it really does shape your life. It really is like waves that you ride for each month. I really love that. So I'm curious with living in Israel and then making that shift to go back to the States. Was that because of the war?
No. And one person I do want to mention in
Yeah,
Israel that is a core teacher of mine is Oriana Cohen, who is the first
haven't heard
person
of her.
who taught a Jewish yoga class. And in my mind, when I became religious, that part of me went to rest. I didn't see it in the world. I didn't see how it could be kosher, how it could be integrated. And when Oriana invited me to her Jewish yoga classes, it was like, oh, I can bring this full part of myself. And I began my first class was Rosh Chodesh for Sivan, a yoga class for receiving divine wisdom.
I love that.
And because of her, I started teaching and becoming more confident in the integration of the two, mostly through the Hebrew months. Then I started teaching the Jewish yoga course, which was yoga through the Hebrew months.
And is that something, if our listeners wanted to learn that with you, is that something that where would they find it?
It's also on an online course now, Jewish yoga course through the 12 Hebrew months.
Is it on your main website?
Yeah, there is a link
Okay.
for that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
And I teach it locally, which is beautiful to bring the energy of the month into the body.
Hmm.
And so I just want to thank Oriana Cohen. And there's been so many other beautiful teachers, but I think those were the two like core.
And did you connect to any female teachers or mainly male teachers?
Um, Hi Lester is a big teacher of mine, especially with circle consciousness and the evolving feminine. And she was my neighbor in Nachlaot, so I learned so much from her.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, she's very special.
I feel like more than any teacher in a hierarchy sense, I've learned the most from my Hevra, um, in like vulnerable, authentic places. That's where I think like my true wisdom has come from.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all have teachers, whether it's our children or our family, we can learn from anybody. I agree. Speaking of Chaya Lester, I know that you two recently were mentors at Rav Daniel Katz's elevation retreat in Mexico, which looked incredible. And as a student of Rav Katz for many years, I would love to hear what your experience
Mm.
was like at that retreat.
It was immense to experience the amount of light he's channeling down and the amount of presence he has with each person and care and devotion to every participant that's there. Um, it was immense. And most of the retreat, I wasn't able to do the meditations because I was holding the space and helping people integrate and leading the facilitation circles. But I got really lucky. And on the last day, the team, we kind of split it up and I went in for just about 30 minutes. And just the 30 minutes I experienced in that last meditation, I'm still integrating so much. And I received such amount of immense light that I'm like, oh, this is what the participants got for a full week. Like holding the space is different than being in it and experiencing it with them. So the fact that I got that little taste at the end was such medicine for my soul. I
That's
really
beautiful.
experienced divine love. And this last meditation, he brought us up through the four worlds.
Hmm.
And when we were in Atzilut, the amount of just abundant divine love that is available was was it's you can't even put it into words.
Hmm.
And then when we came down the worlds, I laid on the ground because I felt a little like overwhelmed by it. And I
Mhm.
needed to like lay on the ground. And the magical thing that happened was the light from Atzilut, the highest spiritual world, came all the way with me back to Asiya. And to ground myself, there were like roots under me. And I am, and this Atzilut, the essence of the light, was in my roots, was in the roots of the ground. And I was like, oh, this is what unity feels like. It's not higher or lower, but Atzilut is right here in the sap of the roots, right here with me. And I've never experienced such oneness. I can't even put it into words. When I opened my eyes and the Nuriel band was playing, and all of us were crying and singing and like clapping, like it was the most ecstatic
Magical. Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
That's so amazing. I love the way you describe it. Like, I feel like you really took us there with that description. It was really special. So why would people need to integrate? Like what would be the role of the facilitator in that type of retreat? If people are experiencing divine love and everything like that, that sounds beautiful and positive and incredible. So what
Mhm.
would be the role of a facilitator in that type of an
Yeah.
experience?
Beautiful question. I think this is a great question also for psychedelics. A lot of people do psychedelics and experience God and oneness, but then the next day it's like, okay, it's a great high experience, but it doesn't impact your life at all. And so the way that the Rav brings in these facilitated circles is to actually integrate this into your life. And to do that, sometimes it's hard to put into words, but when we do and we get community feedback and we see how we can like continue this in a practical way, that's really important in any spiritual experience. But also with a lot of light comes a lot of darkness.
Mhm.
An immense challenge also comes up when you connect to your soul and when you meditate, you go inwards into your inner world, and there's a lot of darkness there. And a lot of people did need a, like trauma comes up, triggers come up, and we need to go there to experience the light as well.
Mhm.
So there's, I think, an equal balance of the good feeling, the what we perceive as good and what we perceive as bad. It's not bad. It's just the challenge that we need to work through to for our mission in the world. Um,
Mhm. Makes
I think
sense.
everyone had breakthroughs and transformation, and some needed more of the trauma facilitated work and through somatic expression also breath work, all of it.
Thank you for describing that. That was really, really important, I think, to share. I also saw some videos of healing sessions where there was like a person in the center and the whole group was sort of like raising their hands in intention of healing that person. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we all have access equally to the healing power of God. And the way that we brought it into our hands, the Kohanim would bless with their hands, and we often use our palms to bless our children. And all of us have a healing power in our hands. But when we're disconnected from source, we're not we're not becoming a channel of healing light. But when we can first connect to source and then invite it through the body, we have this tremendous power to heal. And when someone is at the center of the circle, opening their vulnerably what they need healing for, and all of us are channeling God's light into them, miracles happen. Each person in the circle had had miracles happen, like right there on the spot.
Oh,
And everyone
wow.
shared after exactly what happened for them. Ancestor visited, different, like one person who couldn't see out of their eye, like could see. There were, miracles, and not just for the person in the center, but when you're channeling healing light, you're also receiving so much, just becoming part of the divine flow.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main practices that stuck with me is drawing the divine name in front of us. And for me, I saw it as like a golden light. Some people drew it with their hands, and people can visualize it. And inhaling those letters into your body and through our hands and out. There was one night on the retreat I did not sleep because I was up with the participants for through the night, and I just was wired. I like did not sleep. And the next day I was like, how am I gonna facilitate all day with I'm such a body person, like 8 hours of sleep. I always get my routine and like the all of that was out the window. And I just pictured this divine name, and the amount of energy I received was abundant.
Oh.
And that's always available to us. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a way to integrate, I think, from is taking one tool or one technique and actually practicing it in your daily life because we don't always have a Rev Cats to facilitate. So what can we bring into our life?
Yeah. I think that's so special because I think that it breaks away a lot of the paradigms that we have around God. That when you have these experiential meditative things happening and you really feel it and you see it and it permeates your entire being. I think when you have those types of experiences and then go out into the world, you just see everything through a different lens, right? It's just like completely different way of experiencing Hashem and the world. Um,
And
wow. I
one
want,
thing I want to
yeah, go,
say about Rev Cats,
yes, go
another thing
ahead.
I'm just very in awe of him is the mentors he brought onto his team. It was really a pluralist crew. It wasn't all Hasidic people or Orthodox people. And I'm really blown away by that because he realizes that this healing work is for the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And if he just has representation of Hasidic Orthodox people, then that's who we're catering to. But he brought a variety of us so that we can attract all sorts of people and access this light. And that's, I think, so progressive and so
Yes.
trusting of the teaching that
Mm-hmm.
different paradigms and people, it can be just as impactful. And I just want to honor him for that
Yeah.
insight.
He's incredible. I
Mhm.
met some people here in Florida who also attended and shared their experience afterwards. Many people who had never done meditation before, never learned with rough cats before. They just went all in and had this incredible experience at the retreat that they came. I think awe is the
Mhm.
word. I think everyone came back with
Mhm.
like complete awe of what was happening, and Bezat Hashem, Rav Katz should have full strength and healing to continue his tremendous work and to continue shining his light in the world, and that many people should connect to the teachings and the healings and the meditations, and the incredible light that he shines in the world should continue to flow. um, Jenna, this was such a treat. I very much enjoyed talking to you today. This is so incredible, and I'm excited. I'm going to sign up for one of your classes.
Thank
I'm
you
really
for
excited
having
to
me
learn with
on.
you. No, it was such a treat. It was such a treat.
So honored to be here. Chodesh Tov, it's such a great way to start my Rosh Chodesh Adar.
Yeah, I'm a Pisces my Pisces birthday.
Oh,
I'm getting vibes of you being either Pisces or Cancer, like some sort of water sign. You definitely come across as a water sign to me.
I'm a Nissan, which is
No way.
fire. Yeah. But I think I come from the world of water because when I go into bodies of water, it's my sphere for sure.
Hmm.
So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Well, Chodesh Tov, it should be a month of
So,
tremendous revealed goodness,
amen.
miracles, joyfulness, and connection and healing for you, your family, and all
Mm.
of Israel.
Amen. Chodesh Tov.
Fun show.
Thanks for listening.
It's a pleasure. We'll be in touch. Take care.